Picture a man kneeling at a mountain stream in the year 1583, armor on his back, a day's march behind him, a bowl in his hands. Now picture what the internet says he does next. He takes out a short length of bamboo packed in layers, pebbles, then sand, then charcoal. He pours the stream water in at the top and drinks something clean out of the other end. A field filter, 400 years before anyone knew what a microbe was. You have seen this story, the survival blogs, the comment sections, repeated with total confidence by people who sound like they have read the sources. So I went looking for the sources. It is not there, not in the campaign manuals, not in the clan documents, not in the ninja encyclopedias. And those last ones will matter in a minute. No diagram, no description, no filter, and yet the word purification runs through this entire civilization, the religion, the architecture, the way a man entered a room. So the myth got one thing right and one thing backwards. Everywhere else on Earth, people worked out how to clean the water. In Japan, they worked out how the water cleans you. Same word, opposite direction. And that flipped arrow is where the legend comes from. Now cross to the other side of the world, because Europe answered the water question the way it answered most, with engineering. Rome ran aqueducts across provinces and settled the water in tanks. Then a long silence. Then 1829, when James Simpson gave the Chelsea Waterworks an acre of brick, gravel and sand for river water to crawl through. The first treated public supply on Earth. 2,000 years of one idea. The water is the problem, the human is fine. Correct the water. In Japan, the arrow points the other way. The water is fine. Correct the human. There is one book where a secret filter would have to be. In 1676, Fujibayashi Yasutake compiled the Bansenshūkai, 21 volumes of Iga and Kōga tradecraft, the closest thing we have to a ninja manual. 5 volumes are nothing but equipment, with a whole category for water tools. Everyone is for getting across water, floating tubs, collapsible boats, the flat wooden foot floats sold to tourists as the water spider. Not one makes water drinkable. The nearest thing the secret literature has to water technology is a pill, salted plum, sugar, and a bitter root, held in the mouth to pull saliva from a body that has none left. Not a way to purify water, a way to last an hour longer without any. If you have ever been properly thirsty, the hike where the bottle ran out 2 hours ago, the summer shift with no break. You know the thinking that narrows to one thing. Now, take away every idea you have about germs and put a stream in front of you. So, what did they actually drink? And why does a culture with no filter have more words for purity than it has for weapons? The honest answer is almost disappointing, and then it gets interesting. They boiled it. That took no invention, because the whole cuisine already ran on hot water, rice, soup, tea, all day. Beyond that, they did what everyone did. Let cloudy water stand until the silt dropped, strain it through cloth, run it through sand and charcoal. None of it is Japanese. The Romans did it. The Egyptians did it. Human knowledge, not lost knowledge. And the part the legend leaves out. Geography did most of the work. Japan is 3/4 mountain. Its rivers fall so steeply that a Dutch engineer sent to tame one said, "This is not a river, it is a waterfall." Japan did not have a water problem to solve. It had a water advantage to respect, except in one place, and it is the biggest. In 1590, Tokugawa Ieyasu was handed a marshy fishing village on a bay and told to make it his capital. Dig anywhere near that shore, and what comes up is salt. So, before the castle was finished, Edo was already building water. A channel off the Kanda hills, stone cisterns, hollowed wooden pipes under the streets, not to a tap in your house, to a well on your corner shared by the whole row, and that well became the social organ of the city. There is still a word for it, Idobata Kaichi, well-side meeting, modern Japanese for gossip. Once a year the Rao emptied theirs, and when it was clean they left rice wine at the bottom for the god of the water. Sanitation and religious observance, same afternoon, same people, and nobody thought those were two different things. Which brings us to the basin at the gate. Every shrine has one. A stone trough, a bamboo spout, wooden ladles laid across it. The order is fixed. Fill it once, left hand, then right, then into your cupped left palm. Rinse your mouth, spit beside the basin, never into it. Then tip the ladle upright so the last of the water runs down the handle and cleans it for the person behind you. 20 seconds. What you are washing off is called kegare. Not sin, no ledger, nobody keeping score, but residue, accumulating from illness, from grief, from contact with the ends of things. And it is as old as the oldest book Japan has. In the Kojiki, written in 712, the god Izanagi returns from a place no living thing should visit and goes straight to a river to wash. From the rinsing of his left eye comes the sun goddess. Purification is not a rule in this religion. It is the origin story. The full version is called Misogi, and it is not gentle. Cold water, whole body, no compromise. Under a waterfall in January, a river before dawn, the sea in winter. Not to get clean, to get empty. The shock takes the breath takes the thoughts. What is left is what the swordsman called mushin, no mind, no plan, no fear, only the next thing. Miyamoto Musashi, finishing his book in a cave in 1645, named its central scroll the Water Scroll. Make the mind like water, taking the shape of whatever holds it, never rigid enough to shatter. And here is the detail that reorganized this episode for me. The basin at the gate did not develop separately from the waterfall. It developed as an abbreviation of it. The ladle is a compressed river. They took the hardest practice in the religion and folded it into 20 seconds anyone can do on the way to work. Now, historians disagree about what to call this. One reading is that Misogi is religion, and everything we say about focus and resilience is modern language painted on afterwards. The other is that it is the oldest deliberate stress training on record. Controlled shock, controlled breathing, a man finding out in advance what he does when his body panics. The texts will not settle it, because the men doing it never separated the two. Discipline or devotion. Where do you land? Tell me in the comments. Whichever it was, it never left, and it hides in plain sight. Turn on a sumo tournament. Before a bout, the winner of the last match hands the next man a ladle of water. He takes a mouthful and spits it out behind a folded sheet of paper. It is called chikara mizu, power water, and millions watch a man rinse and not swallow on live television without once calling it religion. In 2020, when the basins became a health risk, shrines pulled the ladles out and floated flowers in the empty stone. A 1,300-year-old system patching itself in a season. If this is the kind of history you came here for, a like helps this channel. Meanwhile, Europe had all these ingredients and split them apart. The priest kept the soul, the engineer took the pipe. By the 19th century, water belonged to a water board and purity belonged to a Sunday. Japan never made that cut, which is why a modern reader can meet the phrase samurai water purification and picture a device. And while we are being careful with each other, in an earlier episode I told you European soldiers drank beer because the water could not be trusted. Everyone repeats that, and I repeated it. Historians push back hard. Medieval Europeans drank water constantly and argued about which springs were best. Beer was calories, taste, and keeping, not fear. I got that one from the same place you got the bamboo filter, which is the whole point of today. And now the hard part, because a system that sorts the world into pure and impure will eventually sort people. The work involving hides, leather, and the ends of things had to be done. The people who did it were placed outside the village, then outside the class order entirely. Tokugawa law made it hereditary, where they could live, what they could wear, who they could marry. Meiji abolished the category in 1871 with a single line of law. The line was the easy part. Private registry checks before marriages and hirings ran on into living memory. The same principle that made a warrior rinse a wooden handle for the stranger behind him made hundreds of thousands of his countrymen untouchable. Purity is a beautiful idea and a dangerous filing system. If we admire the ladle, we look at the whole cabinet. Step back, and the pattern is the one this channel keeps running into. Europe met the water problem by expanding. Take the river, correct it, carry it, pipe it. Infrastructure aimed outward at the substance. Japan met it by compressing. Fold the river into a ladle, put the ladle at every gate, move the work from the water onto the person in front of it. This is not about one people being wiser, because Japanese water came down fast, soft and near. The problem was never how to fix it. It was how to stop several million people treating something abundant as something casual. Reverence turns out to be a water management strategy, and not one in any engineering textbook. So, picture that man at the stream one more time, bowl in his hands. He does the ordinary thing, carries it back, hangs it over a fire, turns it into rice and tea. And the boiling does quietly what no bamboo tube ever did. But in the morning he will stop at a wooden gate, lift a ladle, rinse and tip the handle clean for whoever is behind him, with no idea he is performing a waterfall folded up small. Tonight in Tokyo, someone late for an interview will do the identical 20 seconds and never once think of it as history. That is what survival looks like when it wins. It stops being a discipline and becomes a habit. So, tell me below, what other piece of ancient wisdom do you suspect is a modern invention? I read everyone, and if the real story of how feudal Japan survived is what you came for, subscribe, because the city that folded a river into a cup spent every winter night in terror of the opposite element. What Edo built to fight fire is one of the strangest systems in human history, and I have kept you waiting long enough. That's next.